Here's just a random Amazing Spider-Man. Here, actually, here's a funny story. After I had to sell all the comics back to the guy at the store, I did rebuy a few items. After I got back to work, started making some money, I bought back a few items. Not everything, definitely not everything. But this is one of the few items I bought. Was the Carnage storyline in the Spider-Man, because I loved it so much. Part 1. I think this is part 2. Here's the Carnage conclusion. Here's just some random Spider-Mans. Here's one with Venom. Here's the 30th anniversary. This is going to be a long video with me showing each comic here. Sabretooth number 1. Number 2. Here's Punisher number 75. Pretty cool looking cover. Here's a Punisher War Journal number 50. Another Punisher. Some kind of annual. These annuals were pretty good. Back to school specials. Holiday special. Here's one called Frankenstein Unbound, Book of the Dead, number 1. Some odd ones. I used to love Death's Head. I don't have a complete Death's Head collection, but I have some a pretty good collection of Death's Head. Here's What If Death's Head 1 had lived. Because in the comics, Death's Head 1 had lived because he got beaten by Death's Head 2. Here's a Morbius. And here's the Morbius Revisited. They were redoing the tales of Morbius. And I think I have a bunch of these. I don't know if I have them all. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's 5. Maybe there was only 5 of them. Yeah, and I got them all. Pretty cool. Here's Hellstorm. This is off of the Ghost Rider comics. Hellstorm was a character off Ghost Rider back in the day, and they finally gave him his own comic. I don't have all of these, but I have a bunch of them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm missing something though. 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 12. I have 10, then 12, and that's it. Here is probably one of my favorite stories that I've ever read, ever. And it's called Ghost Rider Rides Again. It's the retelling of the last few comics of Ghost Rider, the first series. When the series 1 came to an end, the last few comics of that, this is the retelling of those. And this is probably my favorite thing I had ever read. It was great. And here's part 7 of 7. Here's the original Ghost Rider. If that wasn't confusing enough, and I don't have them all either. This was the retelling of the first Ghost Rider, starting all the way back from, what was it, Marvel Spotlight? I'm missing number 1, and I'm missing a bunch in between. I would really like to get these too. Really, really want to get these. The missing ones. Missing a bunch in here. Here's a Ghost Rider vs. the Hulk. I might actually have this actual comic in one of my other boxes here. Here's just a random Ghost Rider. There's another Ghost Rider. It's like with Punisher. Just some cool covers. Here's a number 1 annual, 1993. I don't know what this was. Here's my Death's Head. I'm not sure what I'm missing out of this. Let's see, I got number 1, number 2. This is actually, I thought this was a UK comic, but I'm not really sure about that. Number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I'm not sure what I'm missing here. See, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I have 10 of those. Maybe that's all of those. Maybe this is what I'm missing. This is called the Incomplete Death's Head, which is almost a retelling of the other ones. I got 1, 2, 6. Yeah, this is what I'm missing, and 12. I need to get those. These are excellent. These are some Marvel Universe handbooks. This tells you the stats of every superhero. Their power, how strong, how strong they are, everything else about them stat-wise. And I have a few of these. Here's another one. Here's a series I never did buy them all. I bought #1 and that was it. It was called Marvels, and I only got the first issue. Here's a pretty cool one. It was a Hulk one called Future Imperfect. It was a 2-part series. The Golden Age. I think this was another 4-part series, and I only bought the first 2 issues. I wish I would have bought them all. Clive Barker's Book of the Damned. The Twilight Zone. Black Orchid, #1. 45 Marvel Comics. This is stuff that my old roommate bought and then gave to me. Let's see. Random stuff. X-Force, some Moon Knight. There's a Conan in there. 2000, $29.99 Unlimited. Never really looked through these yet, except for just putting them in here. There's a Doom, $29.99 Silver Sable. Doom, Secret Defenders, more Silver Sable. He just bought a random lot off eBay, I believe. There's a Strike Force, Cage, X-Man, not X-Men, but X-Man, I think. There's a Daredevil, Secret Wars, Black Wolf, #1. Not sure what that is. Clive Barker, Ecto Kid, #1. There's a Doctor Strange, Cable, Doctor Strange, a Power Pack. Here's another Conan, Warlock, Wonder Man, Ghost Rider 2099 versus Spider-Man 2099. Wonder Man Quits, Ghost Rider 2099, Warlock Chronicles. I think I kind of split them up. I think those were just the Marvel box, and at one time this was like, over here was DC and a few other odd companies. There's a Vertigo Knockout #1. Another book that my ex-roommate bought because he wanted to get into something. Heard this was kind of like adult-like comic, has some nudity in it. Then he didn't like it, so he gave it to me. Another thing that I love, it's called the Valiant Vision Starter Kit. It came with 3D glasses, and like anything with the color red just jumps out at you like 3D, and it's very, very awesome. And it works with anything that's bright red, anything around the house, like it jumps out like it's 3D. Red Circle Sorcery. I bought this just because the cover looked cool. Batman Legends of the Dark Knight. I don't know where this came from. Here's a Howard the Duck that I bought. It's in crappy condition, but it was because it had something to do with Hellstorm, because he's dressed up like Hellstorm. Another prized possession of mine, the Spawn Bible. Pretty much everything about Spawn universe is in this book. And these look out of order, because here's my Curse of Spawn #1. This is when I got back into comics again in the early to mid, I think it was mid-90s, the mid to late 90s, I think, when Curse of Spawn came out. It just happened to be right when I started going into the comic shop. They had this. And I have more, but they seem to be out of order here. Doctor Strange, The Savage Return of Dracula, another cool series I have a few of. Pinhead, Clive Barker's Pinhead. Here's #1, #2, 3, 4, and I think that may have been all of them, unless they're out of order again. Hellspawn #1, Spawn the Impaler #1, Spawn the Dark Ages. I thought I had part 2 to that other one. Maybe it's still in here. Could be out of order. Number 50 from the Legends of the Dark Knight. A pretty cool looking cover. Legends of the Dark Knight, Dark Knight. Well, I don't have the Superman storyline anymore. I think I do have the when the Batman broke his back storyline. I don't know. I don't remember where these Legends of the Dark Knight came from, unless that was also my ex-roommate. I don't remember when I got those. Here's some Wizards. A few that I bought when I was getting back into comics, I think. Oh, here's one from '93. So I do have a few in here, but I still think I have more elsewhere. Kevin Smith Clerks. There's a Kevin Smith Spectacular from Wizard. Omni Feature number 12. Blutman and Chronic. Jay and Silent Bob 104. This is a reprint, I believe. I mean, not a reprint, but not the first series. This was like a second printing of it, or second or third printing of it. I was okay with that. I just wanted the comic. It was 1 through 4. Here's an Omni Feature number 1. Here's my rest of the Curse of Spawns that got out of order. Number 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's Spawn number 50, 62, or 53, or 52. This is when I got back into Curse of Spawn, I started buying the regular Spawns again for a little while until I lost interest again. Here's my Homage Studios swimsuit special for Image. Nice, huh? I'm gonna have to pause this for a second because my battery's getting low, and I'll be right back.